Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball repair video for you this evening. We are finally going to work on this Bally Fast Break, NBA Fast Break that we've had here in our shop for years. We keep getting people coming in begging to buy it, and we keep telling them, we don't sell them broke, we got to fix it first. And we're finally in a position where I want to do it. I'm trying to straighten up our studio here. Look at this. This is our studio. Right. So I got a little bit of video game stuff here I'm going to put in the back. And then we got all these games that we have to work on. And so as I fix them, I'm going to move them back, and then I'll have more room in here to work on stuff. So that's what we're trying to do. So this one's next. Bally's NBA Fast Break. I've never even played it. To be honest with you, I'm more into like the older machines. There was a time when I was really actually into the NBA though, back in the 90s. And this is from a little past then, so I don't even know some of the players. But, you know, I kind of prefer to fix them than to play them, so it'll be cool. We got this years ago from an operator who had a bunch of games in storage, and this was probably the best one. But it's got some issues, and we never even turned it on. Yeah, we never even plugged it in. It was obvious that it had some issues, so we just left it alone. But the time has finally came where we'll fix it. I don't really think it'll take all that long or all that much to fix it up. The playfield's in pretty good shape. It's obviously dirty, and the rubber rings have broken from old age. Let's see if anything looks messed up. You got a ramp here on the right. That's pretty significant, but it actually looks pretty decent. That is a heck of a ramp. I wonder if they make that yet. We've got the center ramp here. It looks pretty good. It looks like from the factory they had little protectors on the edge, so everything looks pretty good. And then you got this left ramp. That all looks pretty good. Nothing looks broke. I wonder if there's something missing there. That looks a little janky. You got the shot clock thing up there. Looks like one of the ramps actually wraps around behind it or something. We'll figure that out. I know I can look all this up, but the fun part is just figuring it out and playing with it, messing around with it. Ooh, it looks like the basket moves because there's a track down there. It's like the Mick on a stick that everybody hated on Stern's Rolling Stone. That's interesting. So maybe the only way to get the... yeah, I don't know how that works. Maybe if that turns around, that lines up with here, and then you can make the shot. Everything looks pretty good. Doesn't look all that busted up or anything. So I think we're in good shape there. Now, the back box itself... I think it's fine. It's not separated or anything, but that doesn't completely fit. So maybe that is separated just a little bit. I don't know. We'll figure that out. And so it's been sitting here in our shop. We had it over in the showroom for a long time, and people would come in and mess around with it all the time. We moved it over here so I could get to where I was working on it. This is pretty rough damage there. Yeah, maybe something happened to the head, because there's, I mean, it's just damage to the decal. It's not that big of a deal, but this side looks much better. Okay, let me see if I can pop that back box thing out of there, and then we'll look in the back box at the boards, see if any of them's missing or anything. There was some reason we didn't plug it in. Yes. So all of these sockets have been removed from this light baffle on the back box. There is a flipper up there, which I guess somehow shoots the ball or something at some point. And then if you look in the back box, there is a board missing. So that would explain why we didn't plug her up. Now, I don't remember what board that is. I'm going to guess it's the soundboard or it's the display board. Probably the soundboard. I don't know. This is the CPU here, and we checked that there were no batteries in it back whenever we let it sit for so long. Or is that the display board? I don't know. Yeah, I don't work on these newer ones that much. We're flying by the seat of our pants here, folks. What do you think? Should I just call an expert, or should I just try to figure it out? I think I'll just try to figure it out, deal with it. Okay, and this is obviously the power board. Lots of power-related stuff on it. But I'm pretty sure that's the MPU, and I think there's a sound board that goes up there, but it has something to do with the display, too. I worked on one of these, not this game, but a Bally of this era not too long ago. I just can't remember which game it was. All right, so that's missing. Maybe we've got that laying around somewhere. Maybe it was with it in the machine, in the storage unit. I don't know. So I think what I'm going to do is get rid of this back glass for now. I'm just going to set it to the side. We'll start messing with it down the road, but we kind of need the back box open so we can mess with the boards. So I'll set that to the side, and let me go ahead and slide the glass off the playfield and see if our missing board just happens to be inside the game. So underneath the playfield looks pretty good. I don't see anything obviously screwed up. And you know, I'm a pretty lucky person. In general, if something can go bad or go good, it usually goes good. So of course, the board was inside of the game. Looks like it might be missing the CPU or something though. I don't know. We'll figure it out. In, out, video. Yeah, this is like a driver board for the display. And these two sockets may have needed to be populated. But we'll figure that out. Don't worry about it, folks. What are you worried about? It's no big deal. See how calm I am about it? So yeah, so that's what we're starting with. So I think what we need to do first is look at the schematics and figure out how these things even work, figure out what this board is, and then figure out if we can turn anything on yet. There's a power transformer down there. That's what I was looking for. There's plastics everywhere. I can't show it to you. There's a big old power brick down there. Maybe we can get to it. Maybe we can get to it this way. Okay, so yeah, let me get the schematics out and let's figure out what the board is, what I'm looking at, etc., etc., etc. I need to refresh my memory of how these things work, and we'll go from there. So looking in the manual, the first thing we learn is that, yes, that is the audio visual board. So that's the sound board, and it also runs the display. And that's the CPU there. Now it says right here, new on those two sockets that are unpopulated. So why is it updating? So maybe we need those, maybe we don't. I don't know. I'll keep looking. All right, so you can link these pinball machines together, this particular one, NBA Fastbreak, and it's telling you right here that you need to add 2 chips to the audio-visual board at U22 and U24, which just happens to be the 2 that are missing. So this just doesn't have the linking kit in it, which is fine. The thing will play as a standalone game. That's how most of them were anyway. So it looks like it's not missing at least those 2 chips. They're just used if you add the link in. All right, so this is where I wanted to start. This is the power transformer wiring schematic. I just want to check all that first to make sure the voltages are fine there. And then they run into this power driver board. They also get connected from the power driver board to the CPU, and then some of them also run into the audio visual board. I don't know if the game will boot without the audio-visual board or if you would even be able to tell, but we'll figure that out. But the first thing I want to do is just check this transformer, the voltages coming out of it, make sure everything's cool. You probably don't even need to do that because the transformer is usually going to be fine, but this thing was parted out, you know, sitting in storage by an operator, who the hell knows what they've been doing to it. They may have stole parts off of it or something, and they may, or it may have just been that audio-visual board has a problem. So, not sure. But I'm just going to do like I always do and start at the wall and check the voltages coming in and coming out of the transformer. And then we'll move over here to this power board and check some voltages there. So I'm going to disconnect this connector, these connectors, coming off of the transformer so that they're not hooked to anything. And then I'm going to plug it up to where only the transformer is turned on. And check the voltages like that first, just to make sure everything's cool. I like knowing that this is good, and then this is good, and then this is good, and then this is good. And then that way, if you have a problem, it's real easy to figure out what the hell's going on. And you know, if I'm fixing it, I'm going to sell it to somebody. I want to make sure I know every little thing in it's working fine. So that's what we're going to do first. All right, so our mic on the stick appears to be broke. It looks like it's a little guy that blocks the shot, and he's broken, so we might have to order that. The transformer I unplugged two of the output plugs, but this one here is just general illumination. Maybe we'll leave that on to see if we get any lights on. I don't know if they can turn on though without a relay on. And then while I was cleaning around down there, I found two EEPROMs. Or I guess they're just proms. They're not erasable. Well, they may be. Sometimes they may be electrically erasable. I got two proms that are probably missing from that board. I thought it looked a little sparse. So I found those. So I think we are ready to turn it on. I'm going to just unplug everything on this CPU just for the hell of it, just so we make sure we don't fry anything there. There we go. But the only thing we've got going up here is the general illumination lights that are coming in over here, I think. So we'll try that first, and then with the transformer on, we'll be able to measure all the voltages that aren't hooked up right now just to make sure everything seems all right. So I plugged it up. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 light bulbs in the whole thing that work. All right, so let's see what voltages we've got. All right, so the lights are working. We're going to test the voltage, though, on the board just to make sure everything seems cool. 7.5 volts, basically, which is a little high. But that's probably because there's hardly any bulbs turned on. There's probably a relay that comes on to turn on a lot of the bulbs or something, or maybe they're just tons of them are burnt out. I see a few of them that are exposed and they do look all burnt up, kind of black looking. Okay, so we know so far that at least the general illumination voltage is there, so let's check the next one. All right, there's two purple wires that are on a separate connector, violet wires, that are a 100-volt supply that's used for the display voltage, the DMD voltage, and that's there, and everything is perfect. A little high, but it's just because it's all unregulated. Okay, and then pins 1 and 2 off the transformer have 2 red wires, and it's 9 volts AC. Same thing, it's just a little bit high, but it's there. And that's used to make the 5-volt supply for all of the boards. Okay, pins 3 and 4 are 16 volts, a little high, but that's used for the flash lamps. And these are all AC voltages that are rectified into DC on this power board whenever we get to it. But that voltage is there, everything's fine. Now typically you're not going to have a voltage burn up on the transformer, but I'm just checking everything. I'm not that familiar with these systems, so I'm learning about it too while I'm going along. Alright, pins 5 and 8 are supposed to be 80 volts, and that is another voltage that's used for the display. It's there. Pins 7 and 10 are 50 volts, which is used for solenoid power and flipper power, which are solenoids. All right, so this is 8, 10, and 7, 10, and 12. It's, no, make sure I got that right. 7, no, 6, 9, and 12. And it's supposed to be 16 volts on each tap, and it's centered tap, so it's supposed to be 32 volts. It's a little low, but there's probably a reason for that. We're just looking to see if anything's completely missing, right? And I'm not checking it center tapped, I'm checking from pole to pole. So I think that one's probably fine, but we'll keep our eye on it. So 11 and 13 are supposed to be 9.8 volts, a little high, and it's used to make the 12 volt supply. All right, and our last voltage is 13.3 volts on pins 14 and 15, which is used to make the digital 12 volt supply. So that's a regulated voltage where you're trying to keep it near 12 whenever they rectify it. The other one was unregulated 12, maybe used for an audio amp or something like that. So all the voltages are there, and we had people ask us on a previous video, or on several previous videos, why we don't put like modern switching power supplies in a pinball machine or something. Well, you can't really. I mean, look at all of the different voltages you need. They're just designed around these transformers, and that's just how they've always been. So, but luckily the transformer's usually fine, and the boards can be repaired or can be replaced. They make a lot of these boards brand new. I don't know if they make that big old power board for WPC pinball machines or not, but they may. They make a lot of reproduction boards. But we've got all the stuff here. We'll just fix whatever's screwed up with it. So all of the voltages going into that power board, it appears, are going to be fine. So the next thing I'm going to do is check the voltages coming out of the power board. Okay, so I removed all of the connectors from the power board except for the ones that are marked in the manual as the inputs. And we've got a little bit of LED action here. Of course, I'm doing all this with the lights, with the power off. So we've got the 5 volt test point 1 over 2, whatever that is. The 12 volt regulated is not lit up, but if you look, the fuse isn't even in it. And then over here we've got 12 volt unregulated and the flash voltage. They're also not doing their thing. So I don't really know what any of these LEDs mean, but so I think I'll work through it a little bit, and I'm going to do specific voltages at a time just to check them to see if they're correct. So you've got this 5 volt, of course, would be the most important. But let me make a list off of the manual, and then I want to go through each voltage and just see if each one of them's there. It looks like they're not, but you can't really trust these LEDs. Like the 5 one's on, but it doesn't really tell you if it's 2 volts or it's 12 volts. All right, so there is an interlock switch on the front door. If the front door is open, it turns off a couple of the voltages. So those came back once I closed the front door. So if we're going to test any, here's our 5 volt. It's at 5.166. That's cool. The 12 volt regulated is missing. The lamp matrix is supposed to be like 19.88. We've got 12 volt unregulated, which is also missing because both of those have the fuse missing. This is the flash lamps, 20 volts. Okay, and then this LED 105, if you look at the schematics, that's the solenoid voltage, which is up here. It's supposed to be 50, but it's high as hell, but it's at 79. That seems really high. 80 instead of 50. So I might have to look into that a little bit. But I think what I'm going to do next, though, is replace the 2 missing fuses one at a time and see if that will get us our unregulated 12 and our regulated 12 back. It could be that one of the boards that, or like the CPU or the audio visual board is blowing those fuses, or something on the playfield is, or something, and that there's actually nothing wrong with the actual power supply. So best I can tell, the solenoid voltage being really high and the 2 12s being missing is the only thing wrong with it at the moment. All right, so that's a 4 amp. They're listed up here. One's a 4 amp and one's a 0.63 amp. I put them in, and yeah, it brought both of the voltages back. So something's blowing those, or they're just stealing the fuses for some reason. So the unregulated 12 is 15.35. The regulated 12 is 12.01. Now that's how you regulate a 12, folks. That's how you regulate it. The LED on that one's a little dimmer, but whatever. So this board, as far as the voltages, appears to be fine except for that 79 thing. So let me see if I can figure out if that's common, or see if anybody's mentioned that before. And then maybe we'll plug up the CPU and see if it tries to boot. I don't know if it can even boot without the audio board installed, but possibly. All right, so I went to pinrepair.com, read a little bit about Clay, of Clay talking about these, and he was mentioning that the voltage on the solenoids is usually more like 70. So if it's 79, maybe that's correct because nothing's plugged in. I guess it's nothing to worry about at the moment. So I have plugged in the CPU, and we're going to see what happens. And I confirmed that you can boot the CPU without the display board plugged in. This thing probably hasn't been plugged in. The CPU probably hasn't been plugged in at least 10 years, maybe longer than that. And if everything's cool, we should get our 5-volt power light on at the bottom, LED. The top blinking signal light should come on for a few seconds and then go off, and then the middle one should kind of blink at us over and over and over again. So let's see if we're lucky enough for that to happen. We've basically got the switches plugged in at the bottom that go to the playfield here, and we've got the power plugged in up there on the top. Now what may also happen is it may blow the fuse on the power board that we replaced. So let's see. Yeah, it booted. That's wild. Let's try it again. So the bottom light comes on because it's got the voltage. The top blinking signal comes on for a few seconds, and then it goes to the middle light blinking. Yep, so that board is booting. Okay, so we know the board is booting. I think what I'll do is try to plug in the lamps on this board. And we've got the switches plugged in. Now it's going to come up and say, of course we don't have the display, but it's basically going to be trying to tell us that the batteries are dead because they're not installed. But I may be able to hit some switches on the coin door and walk through the coin menu and or the setup menu and get it to boot. I'd like to see it. It'd be so cool to see it strobing some of the lights so we would know that it's alive. I'm not going to plug the coils in yet though because I don't want any coils to lock on and all that. Alright, so there's a ribbon cable that goes between the CPU and the power board. I didn't have the right one, but I found one that's too big, but I was able to get it on there, just hanging, the extra pins hanging down past it. And I booted it back up, and so then I started hitting the coin door buttons because I imagine it was telling me on the screen batteries are dead. And I don't have the soundboard in, so I couldn't tell if it was doing anything. And I don't have any of the solenoids hooked up, so I couldn't hear it clicking or anything. So I'm just pressing the buttons, and then I turn it off and back on, and it did kind of boot up, and there are some lamps lighting up. Just a few of them, though. But it could very well be that all the other ones are burnt out. Now, our general illumination is out again, too. I don't know what's up with that. Maybe I unplugged it. No, I didn't unplug it. It's still here. You know, it might have something to do with that little thing there. Maybe that one needs to be plugged in for the GI to work. I don't know. Whatever. The GI is not working, but there are some lamps lit up. So, you know, these operator machines, sometimes half the freaking bulbs are burnt out. So I think I might actually just kind of prop it up and then try replacing a few of the not working lamps and just see if we've got a situation where there's, you know, 8 strings of lamps out or 7 strings of lamps out, or is it just that a whole bunch of stuff's burnt out? Yeah. I don't know. It looks kind of, if you look, those you would think would be on the same string, and then these two you would think would be on the same string. So maybe that's one column of the lamps is working and all the other ones aren't, or something. I don't know. Let me see if I can figure anything out. So I just replaced these 3, and it appears they're just all burnt out. They have like every bulb in the freaking game burnt out. So I think I'll go through and replace some of them. The ones that are lighting up are the ones that are 47s. The ones that are 555s on the board, that's the ones that most of them are either burnt out or they're not making good contact or something. But so let me swap a bunch of those and see if that helps anything. All right, so I had those two GI connectors unplugged. So I plugged them back in, and then I swapped every bulb under the playfield. And now it's starting to look a little more like a pinball machine, so that's good. The thing is trying to cooperate. I love it when they try to cooperate. Sometimes they fight you the whole way, but this one's at least attempting to help us out a little bit. A bunch of the GI still doesn't work, but that's going to be just bulbs again. I'm not an LED guy. Somebody else can put LEDs in it if they want. I won't be doing that. So I'm going to have it working with the good old real bulbs that it came with. But yeah, so we got that going. So I think what I'll do finally for this video is I'm going to turn off the game and I'm going to plug everything in. It's except the sound and display board. And just see if the thing comes up. Then we can hear some solenoids doing something, and if it just looks like it's pretty much working. I did test all of these transistors. If you don't know, on these little transistors on any game, you can just check to see if the lead on them, those are tip 102s, that's the same on the old Ballys too. You can just check to see if the lead, the tab on them is shorted to the ground. So you can just check between the back box and that tab and see if it's shorted. None of them are, so I think all those are good. There may be some coils under the playfield that are screwed up or something, and as soon as we turn it on, they'll lock on or something, but I'll watch that very carefully. But I think I'm going to plug all that stuff in and give it one more shot and just see where we're sitting. All right, so I plugged everything else back in and turned it on, and we get a little bit more. The shot clock is doing something. And I heard something moving a second ago, so I guess maybe the basket was moving or something. Or the mick on a stick was moving. I don't know if there's any pinballs in it. Let's see if we can start it. Let's see if we can get a credit. Of course, we're not going to know if we've got a credit. I'm hitting the switch. Let's see if it'll start or do anything. Nothing. We might not be crediting it up, though. I don't know. We'll have to work on getting the soundboard to work, getting the display to work so we can tell kind of what's going on. But I think that's a pretty good start on it. What do you think? It's coming back to life. I'm glad that the CPU is working, and I'm glad that they took the batteries out or we took the batteries out, whoever did it. It's so long ago I don't remember. But, you know, that saved that CPU from getting damaged. So, very cool. So, we'll work on the soundboard and the display board next time, I suppose. And, yeah, I'm happy with that. I didn't know that it would, basically we didn't have to fix anything yet. The power board is fine the way it is so far. It'll probably need some kind of service. And the MPU's fine the way it is so far. So, that's good. All we had to repair was replace all the light bulbs. Looking good. So we'll see you on the next video. Now, if you like these newer games, you know, we don't work on too many of them, but we did work on one just recently. So check out this video, and we'll see you on the next one.